guys, what's up? It's your girl Darielleyvonne. I'm back again with another video. Let me start off by saying happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I hope that everybody had enjoyed their holiday and their day off, because I know I did. I was a little tired, but I enjoyed it still because I was able to see another one this year with my family. So as you guys will see throughout this video, I'll be just basically making some traditional dishes in my house and some of what a lot of people make in their house as well. Right now I'm starting off with my collard greens. Yes, this sink has been washed out. You always want to make sure you wash or spray down everything before you put your greens in your sink. Now for me personally, the way how I do my greens is I basically make my greens like I make lasagna. I personally do not make lasagna, but this is basically, if I was to make it, these are the steps that you would take. I layer it that way just so that every part of my greens can get all the seasonings and all the flavors that we're looking for, because let's be honest, I done had some nasty behind greens, y'all, and I know we all have, and it's not fun, especially when they look really good and you try them and be like, dang, it's either too much grease or whatever. So the next step for me was oxtails. My family loves oxtails, and I always start off by burning my garlic in a little bit of oil. You always just want to make sure that you coat the bottom of your oil. Don't put a lot of oil in there, because then what ends up happening is your oxtails, instead of producing gravy, ends up just being very oily, and nobody wants that in their stomach. They end up being upset afterwards. All right, cool. So here I am back to the greens. As you guys can see, I'm just adding my non-salty seasonings. You want to make sure when you're making greens, because greens is a vegetable and it can absorb the salt very quickly, thus ruining the whole dish, that when you're seasoning and laying it like it's actually lasagna, that you're not adding all your heavy salty seasonings first. I always try to add my heavy salty seasonings on top, just because I know it's going to seep through to the bottom. Compared if I go through every single layer of salty seasonings, then it's just going to ruin the entire dish and nobody's going to want to eat it, especially because my family, some people have health issues and we just don't got time for that. So yeah, I'm just currently finishing up seasoning, layering, and yeah, I personally did not speed through this process, because I was like, why speed through it? Why not go slow, And I was originally talking in this entire video, but I was like, oh my gosh, I literally sound like I'm tired the entire time, except for probably like the beginning of the video, and I'm like, this sounds so draining. Who actually wants to watch somebody like this? I was like, nah. I was talking to my boyfriend, I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and do a voiceover. But yeah, back to the video, you guys. Sorry. Shout out to everybody that actually cooked this year, whether it was your mom, your grandma, your husband, your boyfriend, your cousin, your sister's baby mama. I don't care. Shout out to everybody that cooked this year, and every year before that, every year after that. Cooking on holidays is so stressful, and we don't talk about that enough, but it is very stressful, because it's like you're cooking so many dishes at once. You're cooking a bigger portion, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's a lot stressful than cooking like just a regular dish that you would make, like spaghetti or, some oxtails or rice and gandulas with like probably some potato salad on the side. This is different because I made so many different dishes. And this year, thank God, we didn't overdo it like we normally do, because there are some times where we tend to overdo like cooking, sometimes where we'll make like a regular chicken and then a jerk baked chicken, and then we'll have oxtails, we'll have our gandulas, our rice, our pasta, our seafood pasta, and potato salad, and it's just so many other dishes, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then it just makes such a big mess afterwards where you have to clean up, and it's just kind of annoying. But yeah, you guys, I'll let you guys get into this for a second with me still layering my greens. Alright, you guys, now we're back to the oxtails. Now I'm actually adding the oxtails into my actual Dutch pot. Now, funny story. So my mom forgot to take out the oxtails. So my boyfriend and I literally had to sit there and try to defrost these as quick as possible, because it was taken out the night before, but these were already pre-seasoned and put in the freezer. So my hands were literally freezing trying to actually, whatever didn't come apart, take them apart and throw them into the pot. But as you guys can see, it's nothing to it. You just add into your pot. I normally keep my garlic in there. I don't know, it just adds a little extra flavor. Learned that from my mom, and I've been doing it ever since. I don't know, I personally like the taste of garlic, and a lot of my family does. So yeah, some people take it out, but for me personally, I was like, I'm just keep them in here a little bit longer, because I actually like to, I don't know, I just love the taste of garlic for some reason. And can we talk about the prices of oxtails really quick? Has anybody else noticed how expensive oxtails have gotten over the years? I'm like, wow, that's crazy. It literally makes you not want to eat oxtails simply because of how expensive everything has gotten. Like, I don't remember how many legs my mom said she got. She either got 2 or 3 legs, and we had oxtails for because we didn't invite anybody this year, so we had a little bit of oxtails left over. Normally, if we invite like family members and friends to the house, baby, let me tell you, them oxtails will be done for, and it's crazy. But I don't know, some time ago, I just decided I didn't really want to invite anybody to the house anymore because it became kind of draining for me personally, like standing up in the kitchen, cooking all them hours, and then having to deal with people afterwards. And it's like, I'm not trying to be rude, but it's like, I'm tired. Like, I just had to sit and cook all this food. So now, as you guys see, like I said, I'm still breaking them up, trying to get everything into the pot. It is taking some time because it was quite a few oxtails that was purchased. So yeah, don't worry about that green stuff. Normally when meat is pre-seasoned in my house, it's seasoned with regular seasons, and then your other seasons such as green onion or scallion, onions and green peppers, and then you always have to add your thyme. But yeah, you guys, and then after that you just give it a quick stir, just to make sure everything is starting to sit into it. And what I basically do at this point is I just let it kind of do its own thing. I leave it at a number 5, and if I start noticing that it's cooking too fast for my liking, then I just turn it down. And don't think, oh, that's not enough oil. Let me tell you something. If you ever cook oxtails, you will understand that is more than enough oil that I put in there. Like I said, it literally was just to coat the pot, and then you cover it and let it do its own thing. And then the next step for me was my whole chicken. I like to, my mom has always said, since I was like younger, like several years ago actually, when I first started learning how to cook, is she'd say, you like to decorate your food. And it's true. I love food. I always seen food as like a work of art, a way to express yourself. So for me, whenever I'm doing baked chicken, I just like to go in with some potatoes, some green peppers, onions, scallion, and if I have regular like red pepper, yellow pepper, I like to put those on top too, just to make it look pretty. Sometimes I add ketchup on my chicken. I've gotten out of that habit, but my family and I, we love adding ketchup onto our chicken. It does something to your baked chicken if you just lay it on top when you open it up to let it burn. Sorry, y'all, my phone was like, oh, 20%, so it stopped the recording. But basically, not let it burn, but kind of let it get a little bit darker when you lift up the foil. I basically like to do that with my chicken, and I always like to, like I said, add my green peppers, onions, and scallions, and then I like to make my own seasoning to go on top of the chicken, because as you can see, it's not a lot of juice in this actual pan. This is just whatever juice is left in the bag from when it was pre-seasoned and thrown into the freezer. And obviously that's not going to be enough. Who wants dried chicken, right? So I always like to just go in and make my own little, extra seasonings to go on top. That also helps the chicken produce some water as well. And then I normally just, after this process, I go through and I make sure I check everything, see if anything is not coated right, make sure if I added too many potatoes. Now, this particular chicken, I did only cut up 1 potato. Normally I cut up like 2 potatoes, but the potato that we actually had was actually kind of big. So as you can see, like, I'm still cutting up the potato, and it's just kind of like with longer nails. I'm not gonna lie, y'all, I've always cooked and cleaned and did everything with my long nails, but it can be kind of a lot. But as you guys can see here, what I was saying about, layering my chicken and making it look pretty, as my mom would say. And as you can see, my juices is now on the bottom. I'm just throwing some parsley, because y'all know we gotta have parsley on everything, but I'm just throwing some parsley on my chicken and taking some of my actual, make sure that I made it, just coating my chicken on top, just so I can make sure that the chicken is not dry, because let's be realistic, who wants dried chicken on Thanksgiving? So yeah, you guys, I'm just now covering up my chicken. We actually do a chicken instead of a turkey, because it always has gone to waste in our house every year. So we was like, bump it, let's just make chicken. And ever since then, we've always made whole chicken in place of having a turkey. I like to cover my chicken twice on both sides, and I like to make sure it's tucked to make sure that all that heat is inside of there. And now I just throw it in the oven, and I let it do its thing for about 2 hours to 3 hours. back to these collard greens. Look at them collard greens, y'all. Beautiful, right? Just giving it a quick stir because I struggled to get all two of them inside of the actual pot. So I had 2 bowls left that needed to go in there. So I just had to let it cook itself down, shrink up a little bit, and then I was actually able to add them in there. I'm thinking about actually eventually just, buying a bigger pot. But this pot has been in our family for so many years. But like you see, look at that smoked turkey neck bone. Just looks so beautiful, and I just, all the seasonings, always go back in, taste it, see if there's any other seasoning that's needed. But yeah. So now I am getting ready to make my tuna fish pasta. Just throwing some oil into this pot. This pot already had some salt in there before it boiled. And I like to just go in with my pasta. And then I like to add my eggs. This time I did 6 eggs into my tuna fish pasta. And I think I'm actually going to use this in place of elbows because it actually didn't produce too much tuna fish pasta, which I actually liked. So this actually worked out for me, and I always just like to make sure that when I'm adding my eggs, before I do that, I always stir it, and then I make sure my eggs are rinsed off before I add them in there. I don't know why I've gotten into this weird habit of rinsing off my eggs first. But what I do is I don't wait for it to boil again. I just throw my eggs in there so that they can actually cook at the same time. And like I said, I just randomly place them. And at that point, I burnt myself, y'all. I freaking burnt myself. But yeah, I'm just adding the rest of my eggs in so that we can get this tuna fish pasta on a roll so that that could be thrown into the fridge and it could be cooled down, because I personally do not like warm pasta. Nobody in my family does. So I like to just at least make sure that it's been sitting in the fridge for quite some time. And there's no, gimmicks to it. It's just pretty simple. It's just a simple 1, 2, 3, put the eggs in. And after I actually put the eggs in, I like to then go pull out my handy dandy gadget that my mom got me one year, because I hate cutting up onions for any type of pasta. Onions, green peppers, strongly dislike it. And she got me this chopper, which has been so convenient. Thank you so much for this. But yeah, I basically just, as that's boiling, start chopping up my green peppers so that I can get that out of the way. Normally by now my pasta would have already been done, so I would have started draining it, doing my little 1, 2, 3 with it. But this is literally 2 seconds, y'all. Look at this. Put the cover back on, press down, it already starts chopping up. And at this point, I like to see if there's any big pieces, and if so, I take care of that. So to get this out of the way, I normally just throw in my green peppers, or if my onions is cut up first, I throw it in there, rinse this out, and then I go back in and cut up the actual onions. But I like to just, pour everything out, make sure I'm not missing anything, because I need every single piece of green peppers. Even though this looks like this is a little, trust me, it was enough. So now here we are with our actual onions, and it's basically the same process. Throw that in there, place them around, make sure you get every single onion that you have, and you just want to place them around so that every piece gets chopped up to perfection, so that you don't have any big chunky pieces left over. Because for me personally, whenever I make seafood pasta, or if I'm eating somebody's seafood pasta or any type of pasta period, I like it to be diced up. So like I said, press down, 1, 2, 3, done. And now I'm just adding that in. My hands are clean, you guys. If you noticed throughout this video, I was ashy all of the time. I think the only time I was not ashy was in the very beginning of this video, before I actually started cooking. But I like to just make sure when I'm going in between dishes and having to touch things, that I'm actually making sure my hands are washed. So always make sure you're washing your hands throughout your cooking process. But yeah, you guys, for my family, whenever we make tuna fish pasta, we need eggs. My eggs are not being cut up pretty, because guess what? It's just going in your stomach, and guess what? It's still going to taste bomb. If you paying attention to how my eggs look in my pasta, then I don't know what to tell you. But I like to just make sure that I'm cutting up the eggs, getting it all pretty after I mixed up my onions and my green peppers in there. And then yeah, see? Just stir, stir, stir. There's no mayonnaise or seasoning in this yet, but I'm just making sure that I'm going through and checking to make sure every little thing is diced up to perfection. Now this is the fun part. After the mayonnaise has been added in, seasoning. I love to season my pasta. Why? Because then I'm like, ooh, this is about to taste so fire. And don't feel afraid to, try anything as you're cooking it. Why? Because don't wait till the last minute when somebody's about to eat it to taste it and be like, oh my God, this is so nasty. This is why it's so important to taste it. And always eyeball your seasonings. I always joke with people, I cannot tell you how much to put in there, But I like to go back to my oxtails. And this time I added a little bit more water to my oxtails. So I always feel like my oxtails don't be having enough gravy. And I'm just, adding my extra seasonings. I like to come back in and add my scallion in there, chop it up. I don't chop nothing up to perfection, y'all, because guess what? Ain't nobody paying attention to that. They just want to eat the food. But my butter beans are in there already starting to cook down. And now I just come in, like I said, I add my scallion, cut that up. There's no particular way to it. I just cut up in my hand. And yeah, even though you technically probably are not supposed to, I don't know. But I add my onions now in here, as well as some more green pepper. But this part is, like I said, it's on top of what it was already pre-seasoned with. And like I said, you guys, you see, there's no pretty way to it. But while we're watching this, you guys, how was you guys' Thanksgiving? Did you guys make any new dishes? Did you have any crazy family members over? Any new engagements happen this year? For anybody that has been engaged or had any babies, congratulations, and may this new journey bless you in every which way possible, and may you enjoy it to its, complete entirety. But yeah, you guys, I'm just gonna finish chopping up these green peppers and I will be back. Alright, you guys, now we're on to my macaroni. Anybody who says eggs does not belong in macaroni, I don't know what to tell you, bruh. To each his own at this for you, but you know what I'm saying? Because that's been the big debate. Like, oh, eggs doesn't belong in macaroni. Yes, it does. Let me tell you something. Make your macaroni how you wish to make your macaroni. If you like it, I love it. Don't mean I gotta eat it. You ain't gotta eat mine either. But I'm just, doing my 1-2, adding my little stuff that I like to add it to my macaroni and cheese. Let me tell y'all something about the macaroni and cheese. Season that thing, okay? Layer it with your cheese. Do what you gotta do. Now, the reason why I beat my eggs first before I add it into this, because that's how my mom has taught me since I first started learning how to make it. So yeah, and I just layer my cheese in, like I told y'all, layer it in. Don't be cheap with the cheese. It's called macaroni and cheese. That baked mac and cheese, we not looking for macaroni with a side of cheese. Now, y'all, my camera, after I mixed this up and I went back and looked at this footage, I was like, damn, why is it looking like it's barely any cheese in there? But in person, it actually had a lot of cheese in there. But on camera, it doesn't actually look like that. But trust me, y'all, it did. And I actually made way too much noodles. I cooked it over just a little bit too long, but it still came out perfect. It wasn't like OD. But yeah, you guys, I just keep mixing in, seasoning, and then I always go in and add my top coating. And yeah, throw that in the oven. Now, my sweet potatoes. These have to be the best sweet potatoes I have ever made with my sweet glaze. It was so moist. Because who wants dry sweet potatoes and non-sweet potatoes? The whole point of sweet potatoes, y'all, is for them to be sweet. So I just go in, I add my glaze, and I throw that in the oven after my macaroni and cornbread have been done. Because these don't take that long at all. And you see that cornbread? Look at that cornbread. Beautiful. Perfection. Moist. But yeah, like I said, look at that macaroni, y'all. You would have thought as much cheese was in there, but it was. And I always like my macaroni just have that crisp on it. I don't know what it is with me. That's how my mama made it, and that's how I make it, and it's fire. Everybody that eat my macaroni and cheese actually likes it, so I'm doing something right. And that's all that matters. But yeah, you guys, I don't know, I've learned to make it that way, and I've always made it that way ever since, with the seasoning and the cheese. And these pans was not that great this year from Dollar Tree. What y'all got going on? But on to my cake, because this year we did not get a sweet potato pie. We actually decided to, do something else, and I decided I'm gonna make me some strawberry cake. I'm gonna experiment. And y'all, when I tell this, it had to be the moistest cake I've ever made. Look at it. Look at the glaze on this. And I'm placing the strawberries that sat in my concoction. Look at that, y'all. It was so fire. It made no sense. Best cake I've made, hands down. My family loved it. My boyfriend loved it. It was so good, y'all. And I just, was like, I'm going to experiment this year. And I did, and I made my little strawberries, and it was worth it. It really was. It was better than having a sweet potato pie. That's all I got to say. It would have been nice to have one, but hey, this in place of that was good, y'all. I came back the next day to go get me some cake. I said, well, dang, who ate all this cake out, y'all? And I tell y'all see that cake? Majority of this cake was gone. But yeah, you guys, I didn't stir up my oxtails, but that's my rice and gandulas, my collard greens and nut bones. And then this is also my baked chicken. My mom added stuff into this chicken, y'all. But trust me, there's a lot of juice in there. My sweet potatoes, look at how moist and delicious. This is store-bought ham. Don't argue with me, argue with your mama. My cake after being decorated. So good. Look at that, y'all. Look at that cake. My baked macaroni and cheese, as well as my tuna fish pasta, and my cornbread with some butter on top. So moist, so good. Best Thanksgiving ever. And here we are just praying. I don't know, it's just something that my boyfriend, we have really gotten into is praying, and I'm really trying to get back into my religion, and I am a work in progress, you guys, but we make sure that we prayed over this food, y'all, and we sat there and ate, and I had itis like a mug. But anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching, and like I said, I hope you guys had enjoyed your Thanksgiving. Until next time.